Hi everyone, welcome to DSTV 17EC 663. We will continue our module 4 input output interfacing. This is lecture number 6. Topic is serial transmission. We saw in the last class about parallel buses. It's nothing but it is transmitting the data in a parallel. Means more number of one data will be transferred through a one wire. Means uh, the datas are encoded one single wire. Okay, one bit of data is being getting transferred through a one signal wire. Okay, and we saw that the parallel data transmission is somewhat faster. The data transfer in parallel uh, buses was faster, and it has we saw some issues with parallel buses also. We shall see some disadvantages of parallel buses before starting serial transmission. Serial transmission is nothing but transferring the data serially. Okay, so before starting serial transmission, why we need to know uh, why we need to use serial transmission, this should be um, understood first. Okay, for that we shall see the disadvantages of the parallel buses means parallel transmission. Okay, in parallel transmission the disadvantage is one data is been transferred through a one signal wire. Means one signal wire is carrying a one bit data. Okay, and more number of wirings is involved, more number of connections are involved, and this was making here this was increasing the area. To avoid the increase of area we were using parallel buses, but then also the area was not much that much reduced, but it was increased. And we saw that the designing of the tri-state buses was also somewhat complex. Okay, designing of tri-state buses was somewhat complex. And also we saw in open train buses and other bus protocols that routing is also somewhat difficult in parallel buses. Routing means wiring connections, it was also somewhat difficult in parallel buses. So these are the disadvantages with parallel buses. And also when these parallel buses are used in are used to connect establish connection between IC to IC, means chip to chip, then it require more number of pad drivers, more number of receivers, and more pins would have been required. Also when this parallel buses we saw the tri-state buses suggested as a preferable bus for route for doing parallel bus transmission on PCB. So we require more number of PCB traces also. Okay, when more number of wires are involved and more number of components are required, obviously the cost of the designing system will also increase. So in order to these are some of the disadvantages. And also few secondary effects, means that was respect to um, routing and area. And about components also, means about components also we saw. Then about performance, we saw in tri-state bus when there's a long wire requirement and delay is more, means it is not suitable for high speed. So and also it required when we place all the wires in a single bus, all the parallel wires in a single bus, then we observe that the wires are placed closely. When these wires are placed closely, if there is no caution taken, then there is a chance of noise occurrence and crosstalk may occur. These are the few disadvantages. And we also saw that different parallel buses are control signal based. Okay, multiplex bus, tri-state bus, these are the buses, and these are the buses which used control signal. Okay, and when the multiple sources are there, when these control signals are occurring at different times. Okay, when a single control signal in a tri-state bus enable signal in a tri-state bus, um, uh, which is made common for all the sources. I repeat again, in a tri-state bus we used a common enable signal for all the data sources. When this enable signal will reach us at different times for different sources. For example, if there are two data sources and the enable signal is if there are two tri-state bus and the enable signal is common. Okay, when this enable signal, which is supposed to reach at the same time, if it reaches at different times for two data sources, then there is a mismatch of occurrence of time of the enable signal. Then the output may get wrong data or um, data in a delayed manner. Okay, if there is a difference in the reaching of the control signal at two data sources at two different times, we refer this as a skew. Okay, these are some of the circuit related issues, operating related issues, timing related issues, which also occurs in the parallel transmissions. Okay, in general, in summary, we can say somewhat cost may increase, somewhat uh, area reduction is not that much done, and also there is some delay also we can see. But this is not that significant that much significant disadvantage, minute disadvantage. Why? Because these parallel bus can be used for um, small range small range interconnections, whereas for if the chip area is more, if the chip area is large, okay, then the source and destinations are far away apart. They are not close to each other, they are far away. Means if in a rectangular chip, if the source is at one end of the chip, one end of the side, and the destination is other end, then the distance between will be obviously more. When the distance is more, the there will be delay, there will be much delay. So in order to avoid this, we can, instead of using parallel bus for long range interconnection, we can go for serial transmission, where the serial transmission will transfer data one bit at a time, even if it is slow, but it will transfer data one bit at a time. But if we use parallel, it requires more number of wires, it requires more number of wires. When the distance is more, it requires more number of wires. Instead of that, we can go for a single wire, using we can pass data bit by bit. This is nothing but this we call as a serial transmission. Okay, we shall see this in a serial transmission from now onwards. Now this is just and picturization about to know the difference between parallel transmission and serial transmission. You can see the above picture and below picture. In above picture, there is a one single source and multiple destinations. Okay, and this single source is having using multiple wire connections to transfer one data. So one wire for transmitting one data. Oh, whereas if the destination is too large and source and destination distance is too large, then the parallel transmission um, we will be using more wires and more lengthy wires. Okay, instead of this, we can go for a serial transmission as in the below. Okay, using some circuit components, buffer to maintain the signal strength, we can use single wire to transmit the data bit by bit. Okay, if we go for parallel transmission for a larger distance between source and destination, it may increase more number of wires, in turn area will increase. Okay, and in this, if we use some buffer circuits and a single wire, we can transmit the data bit by bit. For this we can use a shift registers. A shift registers we can be used for serial transmission. Okay, a serial transmission is nothing but it's one of the transmission mode in which the bits are transmitted one bit at a time in series over a single signal wire. Okay, and we will be studying two types of uh, serial transmission concepts. One is the techniques of the serial transmission, and other ones the different standards which are used to establish serial transmission. Okay, serial transmission techniques we'll be studying, and different types of serial interface standards. Okay, different types of serial buses which we'll be seeing. First we'll start with serial transmission techniques. Serial transmission techniques, we know that data should be transferred over a between the source and destination through a single wire. Okay, for that we can use shift registers. The shift registers are nothing but will shift the data from one flip-flop to other flip-flop one bit at a time. Okay, there will be receiving end and there will be transmitting end. Okay, and we can load the data parallelly from the to the shift registers, and we can get the data parallelly. Okay, but the data shifting happens serially. Okay, only the input and output will be getting parallel, but the data shifting happens in a serial way. Okay, at the transmitting end we can load the parallel data into shift registers and use the output bit at one end of the shift register to drive the signal. Okay, and we can shift the content of the register one place at a time. At the receiving end, each bit value arrives on the signal. We shift this into the shift register. Okay, when all the bits are arrived, okay, we can get the complete data in a parallel form. It means what these 3 points saying, there will be transmitting end and receiving end. The transmitting end will be sending the data in a serial way. Okay, and this and the receiving data will be receiving the data in a serial way. After this, we'll be sending this data to a shift registers. Okay, the shift registers will be getting the data parallelly. Okay, yes. I repeat again, there will be transmitting end and receiving end. Okay, the data will be sent in a one by one, bit by bit. Okay, in between there will be shift registers. So okay, from the shift registers we will be getting the data parallelly. One type of shift registers will be used is called a serializer deserializer, SerDes. It is famously called as SerDes. SerDes is one of the one of the shift registers used for serial transmission technique. Okay, then advantages of serial transmission is, we only need only one wire, single wire, where the data can be transferred bit by bit. Okay, so since we are using only one wire, obviously it's a common thing to know that wire more number of wires are not there, so area reduction will be there. Okay, area reduction will be there, and also we can if you use some modern technique, we can optimize the signal path. Means with the help of some circuit techniques, we can maintain the signal strength. And one of the example, the serial transmission the data rate is 10 Gbps. Okay, it's exceeding more than 10 Gbps serial transmissions. Then we'll take an example example that it is asking to uh, show how the 64-bit data can be 64-bit data word can be transmitted serially. Okay, show how a 64-bit data can be transmitted serially between two parts of a system. Okay, assume there are transmitter and a receiver, both have the same clock, both have the same clock. Okay, transmitter and receiver are operating at the same clock, and the signal transmission starts when there is a start when there is a start signal. When it is set to 1, the transmission should occur. Okay, and the data is ready to be transmitted. Okay, the solution is we need to have a one transmitter end circuit and one receiving end circuit. Okay, the transmitting end we require a 64-bit shift registers, and also at the receiving end we require a 64-bit shift registers. We'll be using two 64-bit registers, one for transmitting and one for receiving. Okay, we'll be loading the data parallelly. Okay, at the transmitting end we shall see the picturization. Okay, this is the picturization of the example where we have transmission end of 64-bit shift registers and a receiving end having a 64-bit shift registers. There is a one receiver controller also. You can see the clock is common to both transmission and receiver. In the receiver controller, you can see there is a RxCE signal, RxCE port and RxRDY port. Okay, RxCE and RxRDY are the important ports in acknowledgement of the data transmission. Okay, we shall try to construct this circuit. Okay, first we need a 64-bit shift register for transmission. Okay, the transmission shift register is ready. Next we require a 64-bit shift register for at the receiving end. Okay, and we can see the data for receiving end should be in a serial mode. Okay, and the clocks are common for this, and the input to the receiving end is will be in a serial way. Okay, the data we load at the transmission end in a parallel, but the receiving and shift register is getting data in a as a serial input, and we have a common clock, and we will be having a receiver controller a receiver controller, which is very much essential in order to transfer the data. We shall see the waveforms also why this receiver controller is essential. Okay, you can see the enable signal is getting at the receiving end, will be getting through a controlled receiver controller block, and the clock signal is common. You can see the clock signal is common. I will show again. The clock signal is for the transmission end is same as the receiving end. You can see a line is connecting the same clock signal. Okay, and we'll be getting a one set of ready signal, receiver ready signal. It means it will acknowledge that the data has been received successfully. Okay, we'll see next about the importance of RX CE signal and RX RDY signal. Okay, the problem stated, example stated that after the start pulse has occurred, okay, after the start signal is 1, we can enable the receiver controller clock enable. Okay, once this is enabled, the 64-bit data will be transferred from transmitter end to receiver end, and once the data are completely received, the RX RDY signal will acknowledge that the data are received successfully. Okay, this is the waveforms of the 64-bit data transmission example. Okay, for serial receiver controller. Okay, there is a clock signal and a start signal and serial data which is going to be 64 beta which data which is going to be getting transferred, and one control enable signal is there and ready signal is there. Okay, we'll try to construct this waveform. Okay, first we need a 64 clock cycles. Okay, more than 64 clock cycles is there. Clock cycle is nothing but a train of pulses. Okay, the train of pulses which occurs a logic 0 and logic 1 with a suitable period. Okay, and the next we need to give a start signal. There is a start signal. After the start signal, the transmission should occur. Okay, you can see the start signal which appeared is 1. Okay, is 1 from the first clock period, for the first clock period. After the first clock period, it goes to 0. After the first clock period, the start signal goes to 0. Then the data transfer should occur. Okay, when the start signal goes 0, okay, till the start signal is 1, the data transmission will occur. Okay, after the start signal goes to 0, at the receiving end we will be getting the 64-bit data. Okay, this is the serial D is nothing but the transmission end output. Okay, means receiving end input. Okay, when start signal is 1, we will be transmitting data, but this waveform we are showing how the receiving data is going to be getting received. After signal is 1, we'll get the receive, means after signal at the when the start signal is 1, we'll transfer the data. Okay, when start is 0, we'll be getting the data. Don't confuse with this one, because this waveform is only for receiver control. Please read the figure name. This is timing diagram for the serial receiver control, not for the transmitting. Okay, don't confuse. We said that when start is 1, we'll be transmitting the data. Okay, but that at the receiving end we'll be receiving the data when start is 0. Okay, it's a general thing. When start is 1, the data transmission takes place. When start is 0, the data will get received. Okay, this is a diagram of receiver control, not a transmission. Okay, after when receiver goes to 0, we will be getting 64 data. We will be getting data 1 to data 64 within 64 clock cycles. You can see data 1 to data 64 has occurred. Sorry, data 0 to data 64 data has been successfully received at the receiving end. Okay, then how the data is received, we shall see with the control enable. This data is received with the help of a control enable signal. We saw that control enable, the enable signal which is getting connected from the receiver controller in the block diagram. Okay, when this receiver control enable is 1, we'll be getting the all the data received, all will be receiving that all the data at the receiving end. As long as this is 1, we'll be receiving the data. As long as control enable is receiver RX underscore C receiver control enable signal is 1, we'll be receiving the data. Okay, when this is 0, we'll not receive data. Okay, and next the ready signal. The ready signal, um, this RX RDY. RX means receiver. For pardon me, I didn't mention. TX means transmission, RX means receiver. Okay, this receiving receiver ready signal RDY will be 0 till all the data complete data is received. Once all the complete data is received, means here 64-bit data, all the 64-bit data is received, it will signifies, that all the data is received through going logic high. When this RX ready signal is goes to logic high, means all the data have been received successfully. Hope this waveform is cleared by now. You can see the RxE is at 1 for 64-bit 64 cycles, and RX ready is 1 when all the data are transmitted, pardon me, are received successfully. Okay, there is a transmitted line word is there, please omit. It's received successfully. Okay, and we saw the working of serial transmission. We shall see what are the issues, hiccups which are in the serial transmission. One important issue is that the order of the data transfer, we transmit the bits, is important. Okay, the order which the data gets transferred, whether the data means we are transferring data bit by bit, where are we starting from the LSB bit or the MSB bit. This data transfer also matters, whether the starting bit is MSB or starting bit is LSB. Okay, this needs to be resolved. Why? Because if we start from LSB or MSB, the receiving end also should give the proper output. If you don't mention which data, which bit you are starting from, then there is a confusion at the receiving end whether the data we received is correct or not. Okay, we will take an example and we will try to see. Okay, we will transmit the, in the previous example we saw, we transmitted the LSB bit first and we shifted one bit from LSB. Okay, we started transmission from LSB bit and we ended at the MSB bit. Okay, this is how we transmitted data. First LSB, then the last bit is transferred, the 64th bit is transferred is the MSB. Okay, and the second issue is the synchronization between the transfer and receiver. Why the synchronization importance means, because there is a common clock signal for transmitting end and receiving end. The transmitting end and receiving end sharing common clock signal. The clock signal should reach at the same time for transmitter and receiver. Okay, if there is a mismatch, then there's a chance of getting wrong data getting transferred, wrong data getting received. Okay, there is a chance of wrong data transferring and wrong data receiving if the clock signal reaching the transmitter and receiving end differs. Okay, we will take one example of transmitting 8-bit data 1100 and 1111. Okay, the waveform is shown. The waveform is showing that 11, you can see there are lines marking, the lines are showing 11. You can see the figure is explanatory, self-explanatory. The on the x-axis you can see there are small lines. The small lines are there in a vertical. Those small lines signifies one bit data. Okay, there are two. There is a there is a low signal and there is a high signal for two vertical lines. Means 1 is there. Then after that there are two another vertical lines for 0 0. Then after that you can see four vertical lines are there, small vertical lines. It means 4 ones are there. You can see 1 1 0 0 1 1 1 1. Okay, this is the data we are going to transfer serially. This is a serial transmission. This waveform is the serial transmission of value 1 1 0 0 1 1 1 1. Okay, this type of serial transmission is called as a NRZ. NRZ means non-return to 0. Okay, this shows the logic levels of the signal 1100 1111. Okay, I hope the waveform is self-explanatory, and in this NRZ format, the first data is going to be transferred is MSB bit. Okay, in NRZ we'll be transferring the first bit as MSB. Okay, when and also when there is no data getting transferred, Okay, in the output should be the value should be assumed as a 0. Okay, next we shall see how the data transmission may get may give wrong data. Okay, if we don't signify the which bit is going to be transferred first. Okay, this is the figure is again the same serial transmission data of 11001111. Okay, in this um, in this if the samples reach bit value on the signal at some time during interval when the transmitter drives the signal with bit value. Okay, if there is a synchronization problem between the transmitter and receiver, if the clock racing at different time units, then there is a chance of the data transfer and the what the bit value is getting transferred, wrong data may receive at the receiving end. If I repeat again, if there is a if the clock signal reaching at the transmitter and receiver is differ, there is a chance of wrong data getting transferred uh, and received at the receiving end. Okay, one scenario is if the receiver for some reason assume the intervals twice as long as the for each bit. Okay, the interval is twice as long means okay, it means the difference of clock signal arriving, so there is a chance of wrong data getting transferred. Okay, if the we assume that if the interval is long, okay, yeah, if the interval is long when there is no bit when there is no data getting transferred, we will we consider we will consider that time period data as 0. Okay, if the duration of clock signal reaching the transmitter and receiver, if that difference occurs, okay, for that period of time we will take that there is no data and we'll consider it as logic 0. Okay, okay, because of this assumption we will be getting the wrong data. Okay, for example, if the clock to be reached at the transmitter and receiver, yeah, at 5 nanosecond, for example, if transmitter and receiver expects the clock to be arriving at 5 nanosecond, if the clock signal arriving at transmitter and receiver get deferred, means clock signal occurs at transmitting at for 5 nanosecond and the clock signal occurs at 7 nanosecond in the receiving end. Okay, there is a 2 nanosecond duration the clock signal reaching receiving end. In this 2 nanosecond duration there is no proper signal to be transmitted. Okay, at this time for this 2 nanosecond interval we will be assuming that the data is not getting transferred, so we'll be assuming to fill the gap as 0 logic value. So 0 logic value will be getting received at the receiving end with this time duration of 2 nanosecond. So that is why when the time interval is not specified properly, means there is a mismatch of clock signal, and so we will be getting a wrong data. The one scenario of getting wrong data is the instead of getting 11001111 at the receiving end we will be receiving 10110000 because of time duration gap. Okay, the receiving end will be getting the wrong data 10110000, which is the wrong data which we are transmitted. Okay, this is also one of the issue in this serial transmission. Okay, for that we need to have a proper timing, means proper synchronization between the transmitter and receiver. One way to avoid this is we need to specify the sampling time. Okay, if one data is means we are transmitting data serially, so we need to specify sample one data for this time duration. After this time duration you sample next bit. Okay, we need to specify a sampling period for each of the bit. Okay, the condition is that the receiver should sample each bit value on the signal for a particular time interval. Okay, and after this time interval the transmitter need to send the data. Okay, in simple, the transmitter should send the data, okay, for a particular time interval, and it should wait for particular interval till that data getting received at the receiver end. After receiver end receives within that time interval, then after that time interval the transmitter should begin transmission again. For example, the data um, to transfer, for example, data to transfer data 1 nanosecond, to receive data 2 nanosecond. Okay, the for assume 3 bits is going to be transferred serially. First bit will be transferred the 1 nanosecond, and after till 2 nanosecond, okay, the receiver will wait to receive the data. The receiver will receive data till 2 nanosecond. After 2 nanosecond means 1 plus 2 3 nanosecond. From 3 nanosecond the transmitter should transfer the next data. Then the receiver will receive the data for 2 nanosecond. Then after this 3 plus 3 6, from 6 nanosecond third bit data needs to be transferred. Okay, this is how for few nanosecond the transmitter, for few time the transmitter needs to wait till the receiver will receive the signal. Okay, because we cannot manually specify, we need to specify in a some sort of instruction. Okay, so the transmitter needs to send the data after certain time interval. Then next is how to achieve this, synchronization between the transmitter and receiver. The first is transmitting a clock on a separate signal. Means a separate means the issue arise because we are having a same clock signal for transmitter and receiver. When this clock signal is reaching at different time units for transmitter and receiver, wrong data is getting transferred. For this we'll avoid, sharing using of common clock signal. We'll use separate clock signal for transmitter and separate clock signal for receiver. Okay, and the second is by signaling the start of a serial code word and relying on the receiver to keep track of the individual bit intervals. The more common way of doing the second thing is using of teletypes. A teletype is nothing but a computer terminals having a keyboard and a printer which will transmit the data. This is an example. Okay, teletype. And when it comes to advanced way of serial transmissions in modern PCs, we will be using different types of buses for serial transmission. Okay, and there is a figure of serial transmission of the value 11100 with the start and stop bits. It means we'll be using a particular start bit and particular stop bit. Then what is this start bit and stop bit? In order to achieve synchronizing between the receiving and transmitter, we'll be using a start bit and stop bit. Start bit is nothing but a logic low, and the signal is will be getting to logic low level for one bit at a time to signify the start of transmission. As we said, we'll be using we'll be giving a time interval for transmission and receiver. Similarly, one way of synchronizing, we saw having different clock signals, and the second we saw a teletype. In that teletype, the advanced with the advanced serial transmission technique for modern computers, we can use a start bit for transmission of data and a start bit to signify stop of transmission. Okay, we'll be using a some sort of start bit which signifies or which instructs to start the data transmission, and a stop bit which tells or instructs to stop the transmission of data. Okay, this is start bit and stop bit. When the logic when the signal is low, when the in a circuit, the between transmitter and receiver, when there is with the two bits, when the start bit is low. Okay, these are the two control bits. When the start bit is low, it will the transmitter will start to transmit the data. Okay, when the stop bit goes to I and when the stop bit goes to I, the transmitter will end the transmission of data. This is how we can achieve the synchronization between between transmitter and receiver. Okay, with the help of this start bit and stop bit, the transmitter will be having a clear picture when to transfer the data and when to stop the data. Next the same thing, the receiver at the receiving end, it also will be needs some time to receive the data. It will be having a one monitoring say one monitoring control signal which will monitors the receiving of the data. This receiver monitor will be in a idle state, means it will not receive data until some some monitor signal is there. Okay, when this receiving monitor um, is at a logic high, the receiver will not receive data, it will remain in idle state. When this receiver monitor it goes to logic low, okay, it will start to receive data one by one. Okay, this is how we can make the receiver to receive the data. uh, we will try to have a so what transmission and receiver uh, uh, with a synchronization. Figure 5 is about a generation and sampling of serial data using transmitter and receiver clocks. Means there is a separate transmission clock TX clock and separate receiver clock RX clock. Okay, now we can achieve um, the data transmission and synchronization between the transmitter and receiver. You can see there is a separate clock TX clock and RX clock. TX means transmitter, RX means receiver. Okay, and now here we are transmitting the data. So here we are transmitting the data. Earlier we saw we are receiving the data. Now we are transmitting the data. So TX D is there. Okay, okay, I'm moving to the next slide because I've explained these points. I will read again. I will re-explain again. The transmitter and receiver having a separate clock signal. Okay, they are in a mutual understanding, means they are in a synchronization. This synchronization between the transmitter and receiver is achieved through either during the manufacturing of the circuit or by through some sort of programming. Okay, and the some sort of programming with a help of timing analysis script, we can give the transmission timing period and receiving timing period, that the when to send the data, okay, and when to receive the data. Okay, that the clock to transmit the data and the clock to receive the data will determine the synchronization between the transmitter and receiver. Okay, okay, the whoever the user will use the help of this transmission clock and receiver clock. Next, um, how to achieve this? We are just talking about use separate clock for transmitter and separate clock for receiver. Use start bit and stop bit to transfer the data, and use a receiver monitor control to receive the data, start receiving the data and end receiving the data. We are talking about this. How to achieve this? Okay, how to achieve this? We need to have some sort of standardized, well defined protocols. One of it is UART, universal asynchronous receiver transmitter. And universal asynchronous receiver transmitter is a one of the serial communication port. Okay, this is an example of a serial transmitter receiver, transmitter and receiver. UART stands for universal asynchronous receiver transmitter. Okay, this is used in most of the serial communication application. An example will be in the instrumentation system. Okay, this is particularly used when the data when the data transfer is when the slow data transfer is required, means the speed is not important. Okay, the speed is not important in transferring the data. At that applications, at those application we can use UARTs. Next, the next issue is the synchronization achieving between the serial transmitter and receiver. How to achieve the synchronization between serial transmitter and receiver? The next point is, first one we saw that a separate clock signal and a separate receive signal, separate receive clock signal, and the start bit and stop bit, these two. And the next one is combining the clock of the data on the same signal wire. Okay, what is that mean? What is this means? Combining a clock with the data on the same signal wire. Okay, this means we need to achieve a clock synchronization between the among the datas. Okay, one example is Manchester encoding. Okay, one for one one type of achieving synchronous between receiving and transmitter is combining the a clock with the data on the same signal wire. An example, Manchester encoding. In Manchester encoding, we'll be transmitting the data within a specified interval. Okay, here a 0 means transition from low to high, and a 1 means transition from high to low. Okay, this can be made negative logic or a positive logic. Okay, we will take an waveform example. We'll take an waveform example about Manchester encoding. Assume consider this waveform a value for 11100100. Okay, you can see the waveforms in figure 6. At the beginning of the bit interval, the transition will be in the right logic level, and in the Manchester encoding we are seeing the MSB bit is transmitting first with the bit intervals as per the transmitter clock. Okay, and the data is synchronized. Data synchronization is being achieved with the help of a transmitter's clock. Okay, we will go back to the figure. We'll go back to the figure. The first in this image, the first there are two waveforms, and the first there are two train of waveforms. The first the above train of waveform is a clock pulse, that is transmitter clock, and the below one is the value. Value is 111100100. This is the below one. Okay, and the data is synchronized with the transmitter's clock. Okay, the clock is combined with the data. The transmitter's clock is combined with the data to transmit the data. Okay, the receiver signal somehow needs to recover the data from the this clock. Okay, we are not directly sending data. We are combining the clock signal along with the data signal in this Manchester encoding. We are combining the transmitter clock signal with the data signal. Okay, in Manchester encoding, the receiver needs to decode this one, means to recover this transmitted clock and data signal combination. Okay, one way to achieve this is phase lock loop. Okay, there is a circuit called phase lock loop, PLL. This will help in transferring the data with the combination of clock. Okay, a PLL is nothing but an oscillator. An oscillator is nothing but which generates a train of signals. Okay, a PLL will be used as a reference clock signal. Okay, we saw the three issues. Okay, the Manchester encoding transmits the data with the help of the combination of transmitter clock and data signal. Okay, we saw in the figure the continuous sequence of one which is being transferred. Okay, and this matches with the transmitter clock. Next, the main advantage of Manchester encoding with the NRZ transmission is it contains sufficient transmissions to allow clock synchronization without the need for separate signal wires. Okay, you don't need any separate signal wires for transmitting the data. Means receiver enable signal, receiver clock enable signal, receiver ready signal. What we saw, we don't require those signals. We can use only transmitter clock signal combination combining with the data signal. The disadvantage is it takes more bandwidth, more bandwidth to transfer the data. It means more means it will take twice that of the NRZ data, NRZ transmission bandwidth. The Manchester encoding will take twice the bandwidth of the NRZ transmission bandwidth. Okay, and the applications, if you see, the Manchester encoding scheme will be most probably will be used in the Ethernet standard applications. Okay, Ethernet based one the Manchester encoding will be used. And the about PLL, PLL, and there the PLL is nothing but will generate clock signals. The PLL is used to generate the clock signals. The PLL will be using at the receiving end. Okay, the PLL will be using at the receiving end. Okay, this is used to determine the intervals of the transmitted data. Why need to determine? Because we are combining the data signal and transmitter clock signal, and we are transmitting the data. So the receiver data will not be receiving the original data, it will be receiving the data of combination of transmitter clock and data signal. So this PLL will be used in with associated with the receiver circuit. This receiver circuit with the help of PLL will try to recover the original data, original transmitted data. This PLL will separate the combination of transmitter clock and original data. The transmitted clock data will be separated, and transmitter clock signal will be separated, and data signal will be separated. The separated data which is transmitted will be receiving. I repeat again, we are transmitting the data with a combination of transmitter clock. Okay, the data which is getting received at the receiving end is not the complete original. It is a combination of transmitter clock and data signal. So the receiver end needs to recover the original data. In order to recover the original data, the receiver end will use a phase lock loop. The phase lock loop will difference the transmitter clock signal from the transmitted data. The phase lock loop will difference the transmitted clock signal from the transmitted data. So it will give the output as only transmitted data. So the receiver end will receive, will with the help of PLL will be getting the original data. Okay, the figure is showing synchronization of transmit and receive clocks by a PLL. You can see there are two states, ideal state and data out state. Ideal state means the receiving signal is not yet received. At the data out state, the receive will be receiving the complete clock signal. Here there is a transmission clock and transmitting data signal waveform, and receiving clock waveform, and phase lock loop waveform. You can see when the phase lock loop is 0, when the phase lock loop is 0, the receiving will be in the ideal state. The receiver will be in the ideal state, and when the phase lock goes to I, the receiver will be getting the differentiated output, where a differentiated output of transmitted clock and transmitted data, and within this period the receiver will be getting the original data. Okay, and the advantages of these are the three issues. These are the three ways where techniques we can achieve synchronization between the transmitter and receiver. Okay, next, the advantages of serial transmission over parallel transmission. The okay, the area is reduced. The area is reduced, and also complexity also reduced. The cost is somewhat is reduced. Okay, this is another advantages, and the this is about serial transmission advantages. Next, how to achieve this serial transmission? So we need some sort of protocol, some sort of circuits to make it the serial transmission happen properly. For that, we will be studying serial interface standards. Okay, the serial interfaces standards are categorized into are from the two broad areas. One, the connection of input output devices to computers, and the connection of computers together to form a network. Okay, the input output devices to the computers externally, and the connection of computers together to form a network. These are the two broad areas for serial interfaces. We shall see what are the serial interfaces. Okay, and the serial interface we are going to study is RS-232 serial interface, I2C USB Firewire. RS-232, you all familiar with this RS-232 signal, which we hope you everyone remember, with the cable, VGA cable, which I used to connect to my laptop and projector. This is the cable which I used to connect to my laptop, establish a connection between my laptop and the projector. This is RS-232 signal. This is RS-232 serial interface. Okay, this is the standard one, which is very old. Usually this will be used in modems, PCs, and projectors. Okay, then what else we can say? We shall move to the next slide. The example of a RS-232 projector connection between the PC and the laptop. Okay, as a interface. RS-232 is one of the serial transmission interface, which this uses NRZ encoding with the start and stop bits. Okay, we see this we as the second synchronization achieving of synchronization between transmitter and receiver was using of start bit and stop bit. This RS-232 uses a start bit and stop bit to achieve synchronization between the transmitter and receiver. The start and stop bit uses NRZ encoding. Okay, and in this RS-232, the data will be the first data which is going to be transferred is LSB. Okay, the first data is going to be transferred is the LSB, and the last one is the MSB. Okay, this is one of the issue which data to be transferred serially. Okay, RS-232 follows NRZ format. It uses start bit and stop bit. It transfers first LSB and last MSB. Okay, US-232 will be used much in the simple applications like projector display, connection between the projector and system, barcode readers, okay, and POS devices, and in some of the industrial measurement devices. This is about RS-232. Okay, next serial transmission component we can interface we can say I2C. I2C is nothing but I2C. Before knowing the complete full form of I2C, what is it meant by I2C is used to connect integrated circuits, IC circuits. Okay, integrated circuits. It's I2C stands for inter-integrated circuits. This is used to connect the integrated circuits. Oh, okay. This is first this is was used by Philips Semiconductors. This I2C uses NRZ coded NRZ encoding form. Okay, and I2C will be using driving clock signal and data signals. Okay, this I2C is one of the standard serial bus protocol used in low bandwidth data transmission. Low bandwidth data transmission. Okay. And advantages of I2C is it is simple to design. The I2C is simple to design. A simple master and slave circuits will be there. Okay, the internal circuit of the I2C I'm saying there will be a simple master and slave circuits. With the help of master and slave circuits we can transfer the data serially. Okay, it is used for low cost applications and high performance devices, means where the data needs to be transferred the faster we can use I2C. Okay, and for example within a CD player, and next one is about USB. USB all are very much familiar. This is one common port and device you are be using very familiar. Okay, nowadays USB charging USB mobile phone charging ports are there. Okay, USB you can say pen drive, and the USB ports you are familiar with. This is a USB port displaying USB cable and USB port displaying of a laptop. I don't think so much I need to explain about this. USB is nothing but a universal serial bus. Okay, it is one of the input output. It is one of the input device and output device. Okay, it actually input output device. Okay, it's not a one input device or a output device. It is a input output device. It uses a NRZ form. Okay, and it transfer data serially at 1.5 megabit per second or 12 megabit per second or 480 megabit per second. It means it transfers data serially at different rates for different device. The features of the USB is with respect to the host controllers. Okay, there are different type of USBs. USB 2.0 is there, USB 3.0 is there, and this USB is a much commonly used serial interface in almost all the applications. Okay, this falls in the category of ASIC and FPGA design. Okay, there are different components libraries from vendors for this USB. Okay, USB doesn't fall into the category of either ASIC or FPGA. It will fall into the category of ASIC as a ASIC device also, and FPGA ASIC design and FPGA design also. Next, about FireWire. FireWire, this you all are very much familiar with this one. Don't think otherwise, that FireWire is not no one any other computer science word. This is FireWire. This is nothing but a input and output device. Again, an input output device. If you see, if you see the picture, it will get clarified. This is the FireWire. This is a FireWire. In this, you can see that there are two images. On the left side is a FireWire cables, and the right side is a FireWire port. The FireWire 800 you can see. Okay, the FireWire port is used for serial transmitter. Okay, this you are familiar. This will be next to the either your LAN port or USB port in your laptop or at the CPU. Okay, the FireWire is a high-speed bus. A FireWire is a high-speed bus. It is a IEEE standard 1394. Okay, for lower bandwidth we are using USB. Okay, for higher bandwidth, what to do? We require another serial device. Okay, for lower bandwidth we are using USB, right? For higher bandwidth, what we do? We will be using a FireWire to transmit the data. This FireWire transmit the data at the rate of 3.2 Gbps, 3.2 gigabytes per second. Okay, the FireWire connections uses two signaling pairs, one for data and one for synchronization, one for and one for synchronization. Okay, FireWire uses two differential signaling pairs, one for data and one for synchronization. Next, this FireWire assumes that whatever the USB or any other device is getting connected can take charge of operation. Okay, the FireWire assumes that any device connected to the bus can take charge of operation. Okay, whereas the USB requires one host controller. Okay, there are some difference between the USB and FireWire. One we saw USB used for low bandwidth and FireWire used for high bandwidth. Okay, FireWire examples we can see is used for high speed data transfer. High speed data transfer, whereas USB is used for low speed data transfer, and pardon me, FireWire is used for high speed data transfer and more number of data to be transferred. Okay, example, digital video streams from cameras. And we will take an example of what is meant by serial interface. Okay, we'll take an example of having a transmitter end and receiver end, and using of serial bus. Same way as we saw multiplexed bus in parallel buses, multiplex bus, tri-state bus, and different open train bus. Different PXI, VXI, AMBA, Wishbone bus protocols in parallel buses. Same way we will be using a serial bus in between the transmitter and receiver. Okay, we'll take an example of a temperature sensing system. We'll take an example of a temperature sensing system. Again, we'll use the GumNet core. The example is saying design interface to connect, means a serial interface to connect an embedded GumNet core to a remote temperature sensor. Okay, and connection between the embedded processor core and a temperature sensor device. Okay, for that we need to use any serial transfer device, serial interface. Okay, any serial interface. And this example they are asking to use an I2C serial interface. This example is asking an I2C serial interface. Okay, we will try to have a have a look at how to construct this example. This example is asking to establish a serial interface connection between the GumNet core and a temperature sensor. What type of serial interface is asking to use? It is asking to use I2C serial interface device. Okay, it is also asking to alert an output that can be connected to a warning indicator. For warning indicator, we can use any LED. Okay, we can use any LED as a warning indicator. The solution is obtain a GumNet core and have a temperature sensor and also have a LED indicator. Okay, we shall see how to design this one. Okay, the temperature sensor is there, GUMNet core is there. Okay, take a temperature, take a GUMNet core processor and a temperature sensor device. Now use a serial interface device. What type of serial interface device they are asking? To use I2C. This we'll use I2C block. We'll use a I2C serial interface device. Okay, the output ports and the input ports of the GUMNet core is connected to the I2C uh, um, interface bus. Okay, and the pads of the I2C is connected to the temperature sensor device. Okay, no, don't worry about what are the significance of the input ports and output ports. Just have a glance what is serial bus, how does it look. One example we took I2C bus. Okay, this concludes about serial transmission uh, topic, and in the next class we shall see about the input output softwares. Okay, and this is an example of this is a picture of showing a USB cable and firewire cable for your um, uh, understanding. You can see the you can see the laptop port view, USB port view, firewire port view. Okay, the USB port used for low bandwidth and the firewire used for high bandwidth, and above you can see firewire cable is also there. Okay, until now we have covered input devices, output devices, input output controllers, and parallel buses. And today and this in this class we try to learn about serial transmission. In serial transmission we saw serial transmission techniques and serial interface circuits. Okay, thank you all.